I will make on this, Brenda, is we absolutely need somebody as acting borough manager as of today, so Monday we can sign the checks and keep on going. After we get that done, then the discussion that we will have will be on the long-term issues. But as of Monday, if we don't have an acting borough manager to sign the checks, we're really not doing anything for the taxpayers of the community because we're done as far as that. So that, all I can tell you is this is to try to get through that, and that's what we need to do. I feel very strongly, and then we will go from there after
Was
that.
there discussion with anyone else to serve as acting borough manager? I mean, a former borough manager, any?
Get that straight out there.
I'm very serious. Checks and balances are very, very important, and we need to look like we're doing things correctly.
And I agree, but as of Monday, we really need to
I understand.
get business
I
going.
understand that
Can I
point.
make an
As
amendment
of
to that
Monday.
motion?
Yes.
Because I think we need to move forward too. We have to do something Monday morning. The citizens of the borough, we need to be able to operate. I said it Tuesday, I still feel that same way. However, I do have concerns for the separation of powers. I think this is too much concentration and too much to expect. Chief Hall's a great guy, but one man can only do so much. And I think we're asking a tremendous amount out of him to be able to do both positions. I'd like to amend it that we do this on a very temporary basis, and that next month when we meet, we look to try to find a replacement to be able to do that. January 18th, I stand corrected.
I would like to hear Chief Hall's comments. I mean, we're all talking about him
Very
and
nice.
for him. I want to
Very
hear
fine.
his comments.
You're on, Chief.
Well,
Not to put you on the spot, but
But she is.
I have no problem taking over any obligations that the council wishes me to do. And currently, there's 5 police chiefs in western Pennsylvania that are in that capacity.
Acting, or they're full-blown?
They've been, they're not acting. They're actual borough manager, secretary, and treasurer. So there is precedence for that.
And it has nothing to do with your ability or your competency to be able to take a position. I'm worried about there not being enough check and balance, there being too much concentrated. I think we do need to have things separate, and there's nothing against you. I think they just need to be separate positions, that's all. But we need to do something temporarily, so we gotta do something for now.
Yeah.
But then we need to put a check into place to make sure that this isn't how we're just gonna continue it and roll on with it.
And again, that might take some discussion time, so I think we all agree.
With that
on
proviso, yes, then I,
We have to do this.
I guess my question is, isn't this a position that should be advertised?
Yes.
I mean, isn't it something that, you know, given, I don't know, with Nancy, in the situation there, that, you know, if we put a stipulation of January 18th for Chief Hall, and we come to the.
There's no stipulation of January 18th.
No.
I mean,
no,
You don't
we
wanna put a
can't say
timer?
by
No,
then.
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, 'cause
I
the
wanna
reason why I
make it
was
clear we
asking.
need to do that, but we can't make a timeline
No.
clear. What if we don't have a good
Well,
candidate
that's
by
what
then?
I'm,
We
that's
can't
what
just
I'm
hurry up and
asking.
do it.
Shouldn't we be
Do it.
advertising this?
can I
position?
tell you this? I submitted my resignation in June or July, and Nancy was not hired until December. So it's a long, drawn-out process.
To do it right, we should do
To
it
do
correctly.
it
You
right.
can't replace an acting with another acting. I mean, my only concern is that if this goes 6 months,
My understanding
Can
is
you-
that you can do that.
you can't, okay, so if we find that this is starting to affect his abilities as chief, we then have the responsibility of putting another, okay, I just wanna make
Welcome
sure.
to do that.
But I wanna ask clarification too. As we talked earlier though, if Mrs. Freenock's resignation or whatever was, is she still the borough manager technically? When we were talking before, you had said she appeared to resign from the position and we disagreed on that. Is she still borough manager?
As of right now, before we take a vote on Chief Hall, an issue needs to be addressed is whether or not the acceptance of the resignation of Nancy Freenock is going to occur.
Has a letter actually been submitted by Nancy Freenock?
My understanding is that no, but effectively by not showing up for work and walking out of the meeting, regardless of what your interpretation is of that or why it occurred,
Sure.
that is an effective resignation. So if it is accepted by the board today, the position is open and Mr. Hall can be appointed as the acting borough manager.
Mr. President, I move that we do not accept the resignation of Nancy Freenock as Borough Manager of Clarion, Pennsylvania.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, we got a second discussion.
I think Mrs. Freenock has done an excellent job as Borough Manager. I don't think there's anything that I'm aware of that has indicated she's not done a very fine job as Borough Manager. She's clearly the qualified candidate to be able to do it. There may be personal feelings, but it isn't based on whether we like someone or not. It needs to be based on the performance of them doing their job. That's where we need to decide whether she has done her job or not. I believe that she has, and I will vote yes for her.
If I may,
Not her, her in that position, because I think she's done well at it.
if I may, just as a practical matter, my understanding was Ms. Freenock stated her positions that she was not going to assume the interim position.
I'm not talking about the interim, I'm saying that we, the contract, how do we do that?
Well, no, the only thing I'm saying is right now you have a borough manager that's appointed. If she is going to be appointed the interim one, my understanding is a practical matter, she would not accept the position.
Right, yes, sir. That is
So-
my understanding also.
You guys can do what you want, that's your decision. I just meant as a practical matter, my understanding was the issue was to address who was going to sign checks
Yes.
on Monday morning. And until we know what Nancy Freenock would do, I don't know that you're gonna have that ability if we vote her in. But other than that, you're welcome to do what you want. I just wanted to point out the practical.
If I amend the motion to say that we renew the contract with her as it was,
I will not vote to
I
renew
will
a
not vote
contract.
to do that contract.
I think you're holding the borough residents hostage by that.
I don't know.
I don't agree with that.
How are we holding the borough residents hostage? You may have a point, how are we doing that?
You're making borough residents pay severance packages, etc.
No, I'm saying we reinstate the contract and the borough does not have to pay that severance package at this point, that.
Well, if you renew that contract, you are putting in things to.
I'm gonna give you
I
hint,
don't
Mrs.
know.
Lupino, I'm gonna vote for her to stay, I don't think we
Okay.
should get rid of her.
Okay,
The contract to me
that's
is
fine,
not the
you're-
issue, because I think she should be the borough manager.
That's
And the
fine.
provisions in the end of the contract are not relevant at this point.
Absolutely.
I think what we need to do is have somebody knowledgeable and empowered to be able to sign those checks and keep things rolling as best we can. I move we do the contract, we do the contract.
She doesn't have a contract right now.
Hang on one second. The contract was rescinded at the last meeting and not renewed. Okay, so let's get back. First of all, a motion was made to appoint Nancy as the interim one, and my understanding is it was seconded. There was discussion on that issue, and now we are to the point where it either needs to be voted on or withdrawn.
For clarification, I did not say as the interim borough manager, I
Okay.
said as borough manager.
Okay,
I did not say on the interim basis, that is not what I
I
meant.
apologize.
That's fine, so I just wanted to be clear.
Okay, then that is the motion on the table, and it was seconded. It either needs to be withdrawn or a vote needs to be called for.
Discussion.
Okay, what about the contract, I guess? I mean,
My
because that's a key point, I would think, to her accepting the position is that we offer some agreement to her.
My understanding is that the contract was not renewed. If a motion is going to be made that it be renewed, that needs to be the motion, but
That was
before
a
we.
separate motion I made a different one, right?
Yes, and the first
Okay.
one's still before the board.
Okay,
So we either need to table that motion or withdraw it, and then we can proceed to your new motion.
okay. Let's withdraw.
Okay, so let the minutes reflect that the motion to hire Nancy Freenock for Borough Manager has been withdrawn. And currently, my understanding is there is a motion made to renew the contract or to reinstitute the contract that was rescinded at the last meeting with the Borough Manager.
I would like to do that, yes, I would like to make that motion, and that we need to look at that contract, I think, too, at some point, and make sure it is better,
Whoa,
good for the taxpayers of the borough
look at us saving a
overall.
Last call.
But I think for that, how we can,
Yeah, how can we do that, Jason? I mean, it's almost,
I don't know whether Nancy would wanna go for that.
I don't know whether she would or
You know,
not.
right now, she has this
I'm
severance
so
package.
concerned about getting stuff done Monday. Could we say, in the near future, we discuss and bring all this back? I mean, I really hate to say some of this, but Monday is like our key day.
I
to
know,
pay
you're
the
right, we gotta move
payroll.
on. If we do this and put Chief Hall in, does that then kick Nancy out and then she's out of it? Can we do it so that we still can have that decision on her as a council before she resigns?
My understanding is what would need to occur is that the resignation was tendered. You can't have two people in the position. So it either needs to be accepted, and you can bring it up again to appoint her as the borough manager at a later date, or whatever.
Are we gonna do that?
We'll discuss that, Jason.
Okay.
I'll give you my word on that. But
I'll take your
We've
words,
gotta get
good with
going to
me.
Monday. We gotta,
Okay,
Your
now,
word's good with me, let's do it.
my understanding is, though, there was a motion made that hasn't been seconded to, and I even forget what it was at this point, but I heard the word motion was, and it wasn't seconded, that motion will need to be withdrawn.
Extend the contract, or do we do the contract?
Yes.
Yes, withdrawn.
And then my understanding, before we appoint Chief Hall
as acting.
as acting, there needs to be a motion to accept the resignation of Nancy Freenock.
There was no resignation.
Yes.
There wasn't.
I understand your position, I disagree with the
You
legal.
haven't seen the contract.
How can you do that?
What's that?
You are welcome to, call that to a vote.
To accept the resignation of Nancy Freenock?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion to accept the resignation of Nancy Freenock.
I so moved.
Do I have a second on that motion? Second. Chuck Bartley. Let's talk. Discussion on that.
I would have to vote, surprisingly, no on that motion, because I don't think she did. First of all, she did, in my opinion, she did not resign from the position. We terminated her contract and got rid of her. If the school district terminates my contract and says, we like you, but we're ending your contract, that's the same thing, I'm being fired. We fired her. That was how I saw what happened that night. So I don't think she resigned. I vote no, there was no resignation. In my opinion, there was no resignation.
You want to address what?
As I've stated previously, my legal opinion is that when, the only thing that occurred was the contract was not renewed, she was not formally removed from the position of borough manager.
If you read the contract, she
Sean,
was.
you said you didn't
removed.
even see the contract.
The only thing is I'm telling you what your borough code says. Your borough code says that she was appointed manager and she can only be removed by a majority vote. That never occurred. The meeting did not continue after the contract was not renewed. She was never formally removed from office.
Then she's still the borough manager.
She is, but
But when
not
asked-
showing up for work and asking if she would be appointed interim or whatever. Granted, I wasn't here then. All I can tell you is.
Wait, I have
Yeah,
a question
we
then.
expected to do it.
Chief Hall, when she went out to the building, the borough building, was she permitted to go into the building and retrieve her things and, or was she allowed?
They were already there, yes.
But what was the
Wait,
comment?
What happened after that? Was she asked to leave the building?
I can tell you what happened, because I was there.
No.
Okay.
No offense. You
No,
can
it's
say it too. I'm asking the chief though. What happened when Mrs. Freenock was at the borough building Tuesday night?
She had already cleaned out her office, is what happened. I was not
Was she
there.
finished clean? I'm sorry, you weren't there, chief?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay.
No,
Andrew, you were there?
We went out to the office.
You were there
to-
personally?
Yes, I was there
Okay.
personally, to figure out what to do with her effects, and Neil Kemmer came in, sweet, nice guy, and, told us that we would have to leave the building.
Did he state why you would have to leave the building?
Because Nancy Freenock, I actually didn't really say, he just said, Chief Hall called me and he told me you need to leave the building.
Did he give you a reason why she needed to leave the building? If she's an employee of the
Not-
district, of the borough, why would she be required to leave the building?
Not to my knowledge, I can't remember if there was actually a reason given, it was just that she needed to leave the building.
I'm sorry, chief, but did you call Officer Kemmer and ask him to Ask her to leave the
Yes,
building?
after talking to President Walters.
And what did President Walters say to you about Mrs. Freenock, about Mrs. Freenock being in the borough building, sir?
She was not permitted in there since,
Did he state to you why she wasn't permitted into that building?
what's that?
Did he state to you why she wasn't permitted to be in the borough
Because
building?
what happened at the council meeting,
What did happen at the council meeting?
that she would have to make an appointment to come out and remove.
Why would she have to make an appointment if she's still the borough manager and
My understanding, Jason, and let me.
And I'm just trying to ask for
My
clarification.
understanding of this is when we asked her if she would do it temporarily, and she said not without a contract. At that time, I truly believed that that was a resignation. That was not, she was not gonna come back and do this without a contract. That was her choice. And so the chief asked me about security, getting into the computers. I said, what do you normally do? And he says, we normally get an appointment. I said, well, okay, if that's what you normally do.
to clean the office out and
To
get
clean
personal
the
effects and
office
things
and
like
the,
that?
and I says, go ahead and do that, because that's, quote, standard procedures, what
Was
they've
an
always
appointment
used.
set up at that time for Mrs. Freenock to be able to remove her personal belongings from the office?
She had already been out there.
She was out of the building already.
I just was, when he told me about the security issues of the computers and all that stuff, he asked me, he says, what is your recommendation? I says, as long as you guys are there, that's fine and great, but
I have
You
to
know.
say though, in riding with Nancy out to the office, she honestly felt as though she had been let go based on the fact that there was no discussion of adjusting the contract, changing the contract, doing anything different. The contract was done, and that's where it stood. I can only say from what I heard, and that's all.
To be honest with you, I would like to know if Nancy would wanna come back. She's got a contract with the severance package, and I have not seen the contract, I don't know. We're asking that woman to give up everything that she knows she has to come back to this, which is all unknown. If I was her, I wouldn't come back.
No, I wouldn't either, to be frank with you. That's one of the things I wanted to see
I'm
in the
just telling you.
contract, so that there would be
And I
some
have not
incentive for
seen
her
the
to come.
contract outside of reading what was in the newspaper.
But you know, Nancy's one heck of a woman, and she probably would, because she comes back, she works for the community, and she
What did
probably
Nancy say on the
would.
radio yesterday? Would she come back or no? 'Cause she was on the radio yesterday. Would she come back or no?
She works for the borough, she works for
okay,
the people.
we got a motion on the floor, let's, to accept the resignation, we have a second.
Okay, that's what we're doing, is we're voting on the acceptance of Nancy's
So,
resignation.
yes, and,
Okay.
that's
I
correct.
have one before we vote. I was under the understanding that Nancy left employment at the Borough of Clarion. She no longer, she thought it was coming. Before the council meeting, Nancy Freenock had called the bank.
No,
No,
she
she
That
didn't.
is not true, and I'm going on the record to say right
The
now,
bank,
That was a
no,
lie.
that is not true.
That I can,
and had her name taken off.
That's a lie.
That's not true. That was not until after the meeting
What's that?
occurred that she felt she did not have a position, that she sent that email. I was in her office at 8:14 when that email was sent. It was not sent at 5 o'clock, prior to the meeting.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting back to order.